Support for life, 3 words so full of meaning and loaded with responsibility. Knowing that JDA is there for you means that you'll never have to cope alone. Whatever comes up, you'll always have someone to turn to. Marsha first turned up on our doorstep with her husband and her little boy Jack, who was 8 years old at the time. She and her husband are profoundly deaf, so they relied on their son Jack to communicate for them. That was such a struggle for a little boy.
The area that we lived in was horrible. There were drunk people, drug addicts, gangs. We'd regularly see cockroaches in the room. And Jack even found a rat in his bed. We didn't have anywhere to go for support. We tried going to the housing office, to the benefits office, but we couldn't communicate with them.
Nothing was working in their lives. They'd been sent from one place to the other without receiving any support. They had no money. They barely had enough to eat. They were in deep trouble.
Marsha's husband came to see us one day. He'd confiscated her pills. She was threatening to kill herself and he was terrified. We advocated on their behalf with a range of agencies and helped Marsha's husband find a job. We found an outstanding school for Jack and he's thriving, and we got Marsha help with her depression.
By giving her someone to talk to, somewhere where she could get the support that she needed, help her to understand her paperwork, deal with everything that she was dealing with, we enabled her to go from being somebody who didn't want to go on to someone who's now leading a great life.
Marsha has now moved into her new flat and their future is looking so much brighter.
JDA, they're like my family. My life has just excelled. I've got my own money, I've got a new home, I'm feeling well. If it wasn't for the JDA, I wouldn't have been able to achieve this.
By supporting an individual and building up their confidence and their skills, our community grows stronger. We opened DCAF this year, and it's our new meeting place for deaf people who might be alone at home, giving them a place where they can come, they can hang out, they can be with people like themselves in a signing environment. The people who work in the cafe are unemployed deaf people, and that was one of the reasons that DCAF was started, to give them the opportunity to learn new skills which would act as a stepping stone to paid employment. Ella was our very first DCAF volunteer.
My mum suggested that I contact the JDA. She found them online. I said I'd like to be involved. Is it voluntary? And she said yes.
When Ella first came to us, it was like she'd found where she belonged. She'd been alone at home, she didn't know what to do with herself. She was at a loss. And what we've seen in the time that Ella's been with us is that she's just flourished. She's taken on responsibilities and she's a real asset to the JDA community.
I really enjoy working with people. I am a people person. This is our cafe. I think it's something that can do really well in the future. One day I will have to leave, but they've given me loads of confidence through here to help me get that job, and I'll struggle to live without it.
Happy birthday to you.
Some of our members have been with us throughout the JDA story for the past 65 years. We've grown with them, and as their needs have changed, we've changed with them. Nothing illustrates this more than our pioneering new outreach service, which is alleviating the isolation of literally thousands of older people living in care. Over 80% of residents in care homes have hearing loss. Even in the best care homes, hearing loss is not on their radar.
That's where JDA's expertise came in, because we were the only ones who knew how to actually say, this person had a hearing loss, this is what they need, and this is how you can help them.
Hiya Sid, I'm going to fix your hearing aid for you.
We make sure that if anybody does have hearing aids, that it's actually working, they've been put in properly.
In Jewish care, I could say in the care homes alone, we're talking about several hundred residents who would benefit from this. It's our aim that this will roll out across all of our homes. We will work very closely with the JDA to see the most efficient way we can do that.
The response has been huge. We go to care homes, we train the staff, we train them how to fit hearing aids, how to change the batteries. We train them on the importance of hearing aids, the impact that hearing aids have.
It's all about communication. So, for example, carers will ask residents, do you want a cup of tea? And because they'll ask it in a way that somebody doesn't understand, they'll repeat and they'll say it louder and they'll start shouting. Let's say you're 85 years old, you're getting slower, you're dependent on other people to find out what's going on inside the world, what's for dinner, whether you want a cup of tea or coffee. And if you can't communicate with somebody, then you have no voice, you have no life. We are literally giving them back their voice. So what are you singing today, Sid?
I'll do Night and Day. Night and day, you are the one, only you beneath the moon and under the sun.
It's incredible that one tiny piece of equipment can open someone's world up.
Makes no difference, darling, where you are. I think of you day and night.
He came here to see to people's hearing. I've got somebody behind my back to support me in case something happens.
The JDA provides support for life, from people who have babies who can't hear, to people throughout their lives as they grow older. It is a lifeline for people of all ages.
To work in an organisation as passionate and dedicated to this place has been amazing. There's the line, we fly right over it.
Having been brought up with deaf parents, I know how valuable the work of the JDA is and how they wouldn't be able to cope without them. And that's why it's so lovely that I can now give back. To be able to make such a difference to someone's life, to make them feel like they have a family in the JDA is amazing. There's nothing quite like it.
If JDA no longer existed, there'll be hundreds of people that we deal with at the moment who have had the chance to really live a life would go back to this grey obscurity again. But at the moment, there is a chance for us to reach them. Without our help, there's nobody else out there. Let's face it, everybody's going to have a relative in a care home at some point. They're going to need us.
JDA's got a big, important job to do now. There are thousands of people out there that really need our help to get the very best out of life. And that's what we're going to do.
If I hadn't have found the JDA, my life would never have been the same. I love the JDA. They're my friends at the JDA. They're my angels. Thank you, JDA.